Karoline Leavitt, a rising political figure known for her strong conservative values, recently made headlines for an act of kindness that took everyone by surprise. It started on a routine flight from Washington, D.C. to New Hampshire, where Leavitt was scheduled to attend a campaign event. She had booked a first-class seat, a small luxury after a long week of work. But what happened next turned an ordinary trip into a viral moment. As Leavitt was settling into her seat, she noticed an elderly man walking down the aisle, his movements slow but steady. He was wearing a military veteran's cap, the kind that instantly commands respect. He glanced at the first-class seats as he passed, then continued toward the back of the plane. Something about the moment struck Leavitt. Without hesitation, she stood up, approached the veteran, and made him an offer he never expected. "Sir, I'd be honored if you'd take my seat up front," she said with a warm smile. The veteran, taken aback, shook his head. "That's very kind of you, young lady, but I'll be just fine back here." But Leavitt wouldn't take no for an answer. She gently placed a hand on his shoulder and insisted, "Please, I insist. You've done more for this country than I ever could. It's the least I can do." The passengers nearby watched in silence, processing what was happening. A flight attendant who had overheard the conversation stepped in to assist. With some encouragement, the veteran finally accepted. As he settled into Leavitt's first-class seat, the entire cabin erupted into quiet applause. People pulled out their phones to capture the moment, and within minutes the story was being shared online. Leavitt, now in economy class, didn't expect any recognition for her gesture. She simply smiled and buckled in, ready for the flight, but what happened next was truly unexpected. The pilot, informed of what had just happened, made a special announcement over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special passenger on board today," the captain said. "A veteran who has served our country with honor is sitting up front, thanks to the generosity of another passenger. Let's take a moment to show our appreciation." The entire plane erupted in applause again, louder this time. Some passengers even stood up to shake the veteran's hand. The atmosphere on the plane shifted from the usual routine of air travel to something more meaningful, something patriotic and heartfelt. As the flight progressed, people began approaching Leavitt to thank her. One older woman leaned over and whispered, "My husband was a veteran. What you did means more than you know." Another passenger, a middle-aged businessman, offered to buy her a drink, but she politely declined. It wasn't about recognition for her, it was simply the right thing to do. However, the story didn't end there. When the plane landed in New Hampshire, reporters were already waiting. Someone on the flight had tweeted about the incident, and it had gone viral within hours. News outlets picked up the story, and by the time Leavitt stepped off the plane, she was met with flashing cameras and eager journalists. "Ms. Leavitt, can you tell us why you gave up your first-class seat?" one reporter asked. Leavitt smiled, clearly a bit overwhelmed by the attention. "Honestly, I didn't think twice about it," she replied. "Our veterans have sacrificed so much for us. Giving up a seat is nothing compared to what they've given." Her response only fueled the admiration. Social media exploded with praise, with people from all political backgrounds calling her act a symbol of gratitude and respect. Some skeptics tried to question whether it was a publicity stunt, but those who were on the flight defended her sincerity. One passenger posted a video of the moment Leavitt offered her seat, writing, "This wasn't staged. It was pure kindness. She didn't do it for the cameras. She did it because it was the right thing to do." Even celebrities and political figures chimed in. Some praised her for setting an example, while others debated the deeper meaning behind her actions. Regardless of political affiliations, one thing was clear. Karoline Leavitt had captured the nation's attention in a way no one expected. In the days that followed, the veteran, later identified as a retired Army sergeant named William Henderson, gave his own statement. "I didn't expect anything like this," he said. "I was just taking a routine flight home, but what Ms. Leavitt did, it reminded me that there are still good people out there who respect our service." Leavitt and Henderson eventually reunited at a veterans event where they shared a heartfelt handshake and a few words. She later posted a photo with him captioned, "True American heroes deserve our gratitude every day. Honored to have met this incredible man." The story didn't just end with media coverage and social media buzz, it had ripple effects that went far beyond what anyone expected. People across the country started sharing their own stories of kindness toward veterans, using hashtags like "Honor Our Heroes" and "Me Cheer Seat for a Soldier" to spread awareness. Airlines even took notice, with some announcing new initiatives to upgrade veterans whenever possible, ensuring that those who served the country were treated with the dignity they deserved. Meanwhile, Karoline Leavitt continued to receive messages of gratitude from strangers, veterans, and military families. Some reached out through social media, while others sent handwritten letters expressing how much her simple act meant to them. One particularly moving message came from the daughter of a World War II veteran. "My father passed away last year," she wrote. "He always talked about how much it meant when people recognized his service. Seeing what you did reminded me of him and brought tears to my eyes. Thank you for reminding us all to appreciate our heroes while they're still here." Leavitt, known for her strong stance on patriotism and support for the military, decided to take this experience a step further. She began working on a new initiative aimed at supporting veterans, particularly those struggling with housing and healthcare issues. Within weeks, she announced plans to partner with veteran organizations to help raise funds and awareness for their needs. In a follow-up interview, Leavitt explained, "What happened on that flight was just one small moment, but it opened my eyes to something much bigger. Our veterans deserve more than just a seat upgrade. They deserve real support, real resources, and real action." Her initiative gained traction, with business leaders and fellow politicians stepping in to offer assistance. A major airline even reached out, offering to launch a Veterans First program, ensuring that any veteran flying on their airline would be given priority seating whenever available. The movement was growing, all sparked by one selfless decision. And then came the moment that truly took everyone by surprise. Weeks after the incident, Karoline Leavitt received a personal letter from a high-ranking military official, none other than General Mark Andrews, a retired 4-star general and decorated war hero. "Ms. Leavitt," the letter read, "your gesture on that flight may have seemed small to you, but to the men and women who have served, it meant everything. In a world where kindness is often overlooked, you reminded us all that respect and gratitude still exist. On behalf of my fellow veterans, thank you." Touched by the letter, Leavitt shared it with her supporters, emphasizing once again that the true heroes were the veterans themselves. She never expected recognition, yet it kept coming. People started discussing whether this moment would impact her political future, with some suggesting that her genuine show of character made her a rising star to watch. But for Leavitt, it wasn't about politics. It was about doing what was right. She continued attending veterans events, meeting with service members, and using her platform to advocate for better support systems. The veteran from the flight, William Henderson, became a friend and an inspiration to her. They stayed in touch, and he often reminded her, "What you did meant more than just a seat. It showed respect, and that's what we need more of in this country." The impact of this moment was undeniable. It wasn't just a viral story, it became a symbol of appreciation, kindness, and the power of small actions. It was a reminder that in a fast-paced, often divided world, moments of humanity still shine through. And so, the question remains, what would you have done in that situation? Would you have given up your seat? Would you have taken the time to recognize a veteran's sacrifice? Sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest acts. This story serves as proof that kindness is contagious, and that a simple seat swap can turn into something far greater than anyone could have imagined. As the weeks passed, the story of Karoline Leavitt's selfless act continued to spread. It wasn't just a fleeting viral moment. It had become a national conversation about how we honor our veterans. Talk shows picked up the story, with hosts discussing the deeper significance of what she had done. Some praised her for setting an example of humility and respect, while others pointed out that this should be the norm, not the exception. Why does this stand out so much? One commentator asked. Because we don't see it often enough. We should all be looking for ways to show gratitude to those who've served. As the momentum grew, veterans organizations saw an uptick in donations and volunteer sign-ups. Inspired by Leavitt's actions, many people sought out ways to give back, whether through sponsoring flights for veterans, offering free meals, or simply taking the time to say, "Thank you for your service." But perhaps the most unexpected twist came when Leavitt received an invitation from the White House. The president himself had heard about what happened and wanted to personally recognize her and, more importantly, the veteran she honored. Few weeks later, in a formal ceremony, Leavitt and William Henderson stood side by side as the president addressed the audience. Today, we recognize not only the sacrifices of our veterans, but also the small acts of kindness that remind us of who we are as a nation, he said. Karoline Leavitt's simple gesture is a lesson to us all that gratitude is more than just words. It's action. The veteran, overwhelmed by the honor, spoke briefly but powerfully. "I never expected anything like this," Henderson said, his voice thick with emotion. "But if this moment can remind people to appreciate those who've served, then it was all worth it." By now, Leavitt had become more than just a political figure. She had become a symbol of respect and integrity. Even those who disagreed with her politically found themselves admiring her genuine act of kindness. Social media, often a place of division, saw a rare moment of unity as people from all sides of the spectrum agreed. This was the kind of leadership the country needed. Meanwhile, airlines across the country announced new policies to prioritize veterans for seat upgrades when available. One major airline even implemented the Leavitt rule, ensuring that if a veteran was on a flight and an upgrade was open, they would receive it, no questions asked. Despite all the recognition, Leavitt remained humble. She repeatedly emphasized that the true focus should be on the veterans themselves, not on her. In a follow-up interview, she reflected on the experience. "I didn't do this for attention. I did it because it was right. And if this moment can inspire even one more person to show kindness to a veteran, then I'll consider it a success." And that's exactly what happened. Across the country, people began performing similar acts of gratitude. Stories poured in about travelers giving up seats, restaurant owners offering free meals, and communities coming together to ensure that no veteran ever felt unappreciated. One touching story came from a college student who, after hearing about Leavitt's act, gave up his seat on a crowded train for an elderly veteran. "I wouldn't have thought twice about it before," he admitted. "But I realized that respect is something you show, not just something you feel." The impact of this moment was undeniable. It became a movement, a reminder that small gestures can lead to big change. So the next time you see a veteran, will you take a moment to show appreciation? Will you go beyond just saying, "Thank you for your service," and take action? Because sometimes the smallest act of kindness can create a ripple effect that changes the world in ways you never expected.